Hello, I hope you're doing well and welcome to my March bullet journal setup. As usual, I'm starting off by writing the name of the month, but this time I'm using this lettering stencil, and I've mentioned this before, but my lettering is not that great, so I like to use a stencil for my title page, and the rest of the lettering I tend to do by hand. And also, as rather frequently happens to me, I'm actually starting off this video with a mistake, and here you can see that I misspelled March. And to fix it, I'm pretty much just going to glue this page together with the next one so that they essentially become one page, and it doesn't really bother me anymore. Now, I used this way to fix my mistake because I was feeling kind of down, and this is definitely the easiest way to do it, but there are actually quite a few other options. For example, you could use some whiteout or a white gel pen to cover the letters, or you could take a little piece from the back of your journal and glue it on top, or you could even just glue some scrapbooking paper or craft paper on top of the letters and start over on top. Anyways, once I had my letters correctly on the page, it was time to start doodling. And this month's theme is actually going to be another really simple one, a little bit like February, and this month I'm going with clovers. I went with a more abstract version of the clover just because I wanted to keep things simple and also because of the colors that I will be using to fill them in, which you will see in a little bit. So these clover doodles are very simple. They're pretty much made up of 3 heart-shaped leaves with a line down the middle and a very, very simple stem. But this worked with the theme that I was going for, so I was quite happy with the simplicity. To color them in, I'm going to be using exclusively gel pens. In fact, I will only be using gel pens for this entire setup, so it's actually a really simple one to create. And the reason I'm using gel pens is actually because my main color for this theme is going to be neon green. And of course, I will also add a little bit of variation with 2 other green colors, one of which is going to be this sparkly green color, and another one is just going to be a slightly darker but still very bright green color. This color scheme is definitely very, very bright, but this is kind of what I wanted to go with this month. I don't tend to use my neon pens that often, but I knew that I wanted to use them this month because we're gently, slowly heading towards spring, and green is a very spring-like color, so I knew that I wanted to go for green, but I also knew that I wanted it to be a little bit more abstract and a little bit brighter. So that's where the neon part comes in. For the right side of my spread, this is my looking forward to section, and very briefly, this is pretty much where I write down whatever I'm looking forward to the most for the upcoming month, and this just helps me to stay a little bit more positive. And I decided to decorate this just a little bit with 2 clover leaves, and I wrote the heading in bubble letters and filled them in with the same neon green, which you will definitely be seeing a lot. The next spread is my mood tracker and habit tracker, and I'm writing the headings in the same bubble letter font that I used for the looking forward to section for the previous spread, and I'm going to be filling that in with the same neon green color. For the mood tracker, I decided to go the pretty traditional route and just use the same sort of doodles that I used for my title page for the mood tracker as well. So this page actually bears a very strong resemblance to my title page, but I'm actually quite happy with it, and I think it's going to be pretty cute when I actually fill it all in. And I'm also going to be filling them in with the same 3 colors that I'm using for this entire setup. So I'll be filling in the clovers on my happy days with my neon green, on the, neutral days with my in-between green color, and on the sadder days with my darker sparkly green color. Next up, I worked on the habit tracker, and for this I'm actually going to be using stamps. Now this is something that I really loved doing the previous month because it made setting up my habit tracker so easy. I've actually been planning to try out a habit tracker in this format for quite a while, and the only thing stopping me was, well, my extreme laziness regarding drawing out each calendar by hand. So now that I have stamps, I can do it very quickly, and I'm really happy about it. So if you also don't enjoy drawing the little calendars for your habit trackers, I very highly recommend getting a set of stamps like this. And the next spread is the calendar spread for the month. And I think this is the first time since I've started doing calendars that I did not mess up this spread anywhere. So I'm actually really happy about that. Of course, there's the distinct possibility that I did and I just don't see it yet, and one of you will tell me in the comments. Please do that, by the way, if I have messed up. It actually helps me to fix my mistakes later and to, know what I should watch out for in the future. Anyways, here I'm basically just going to be drawing some squares for each day. Again, I wanted to keep things simple. And after I'm done with that, I'm going to be writing the days of the week in a bright green color to make them stand out a little bit more, and then I'm going to be drawing some more clover doodles. Of course, I will be filling in my clover doodles in the same 3 green colors that I've been using, and this time I'm actually going to be adding a little bit of that neon green to the dates just to make them stand out a little bit more. By the way, in case you're wondering if there will be washi tape, because I do have washi tape on my table, yes, there will be washi tape, but later. I actually wanted to set up all of my spreads using only doodles, in case you wanted to see how they look and were looking for ideas of spreads with only doodles. And only after that, I will actually be using the washi tape. Next spread is my tasks and accomplishments spread. So I'm going to be writing down whatever tasks I have for the month on the left, and then on the right I'm going to be writing down whatever accomplishments I, accomplished during the month of March. I actually decided to try putting these 2 spreads together just because I tend to give myself way too many tasks for a particular month, so I think that putting accomplishments next to my tasks will actually help me to see that I did accomplish something this month. For the spread itself, I'm writing the headings in the same bubble letters and filling them in with the same neon green, and I'm drawing some clover doodles down the middle to sort of separate the 2 spreads. By the way, in case you're wondering why I keep putting tissues on my spreads, it's just because gel pens do take a little bit longer to dry, and I don't really feel like waiting for them to dry between each spread, and I definitely don't want them to stain the other pages. So this was my solution, and it actually worked out pretty well. There was almost no staining on my pages later. The next spread is my monthly review spread. So this is pretty much just a general review of the month that I do after the month is over, and here I write down whether or not I accomplished my goals, whether or not the month was good, how I was feeling, what I was doing. So I touch up on all of these things very briefly just so I have an overview of the month. Again, I'm writing my heading in the same neon green bubble letters, and this time I'm actually drawing the clover doodles on each side of the page, so sort of a little bit like a border. By the way, if you like the look of a sort of doodle border, but don't actually want to draw a doodle border, and you have some washi tape that goes with your theme for the month, you can just put a strip of washi tape on both sides of the page and you will get a very similar look with much less effort. The next spread is my highlights spread, so pretty much just the best things in the month of March are going to go on this particular spread. So I always enjoy filling this in, even if I have to force myself to do it sometimes, but it definitely helps to make me feel a little bit more positive about the month after it is over. And again, the heading is in the same neon green bubble letters, and this time my clover doodles are going in a sort of flying pattern from the left to the right side of the page. I'm not explaining this very well, but my idea for the spread was to draw the clovers as if they're sort of flying away from the heading, which is actually why I drew the first clover right next to the heading in the same neon green as the heading. I'm definitely not sure that I actually executed this idea successfully, but even if I didn't, I still really like how this came out. The next spread is my gratitude and perspective shift spread. So my gratitude spread is where I'm going to be writing down all of the things that I'm grateful for the month of March, and my perspective shift is the spread where I think about all the negative things that happened and I sort of try to put a positive spin on them and view them in a positive light. Like, for example, if something went wrong, well, maybe I learned something and it won't happen again. And this is just another spread that helps me to stay more positive. Shouldn't be a surprise that the headings are in the same neon green font, and this time I actually decorated it with clover doodles that created a sort of triangular shape with the headings. Again, this is really simple and quite easy to do, but I still think that it adds a nice little touch to the spread. And we have reached the final spread of this setup, at least before I start adding washi tape to everything. And this spread is my health review and mood review spread. Now, I know I already had a general review spread, but I still think that it's really good to add these two sections and review them separately, at least for me, because my health and my mood is definitely something that I struggle with, so I think that it's really useful for me to sort of review how I've been doing with both of these things at the end of the month. Of course, if you don't think that a spread like this will be useful for you, you can always take it out, and that goes for, of course, any of the other spreads that I've been showing you, or you can replace any of them, and some ideas might be a quote spread, a notes spread, an ideal day spread, or even something like a project spread for something you might be doing at home or at work or at school. For how I actually decorated this particular spread, I added the heading in the same font that I've been using at the top, and this time my clover doodles have moved to the bottom of the spread. And again, I'm using the same 3 green colors to fill them in. So now, before I'm going to start decorating the spreads with washi tape, I wanted to show you how they look as is. I honestly do think that they're completely fine just like this, but I just really like using washi tape, so I am adding my washi tape to my spreads, but again, you really don't have to. Actually, I'm really curious to know if you prefer the spreads just like this, or if you like them with the washi tape better, so please let me know in the comments below. Overall, I'm actually pretty happy with this setup, even if it is a really simple one. But I really like how bright the neon colors make it, and I think that it's kind of fun. And as promised, it is now time for the washi tape. And I'm using this white grid washi tape as a base just because it's so neutral, but it does add a little bit of extra, I don't know, texture to the spread. Visual texture, that is. My main accent is actually this leafy green washi tape, and the leaves are actually so similar to the clovers. They're not clovers, but they're really similar, and the color scheme is actually really close to the clover color scheme as well, so I thought that it worked perfectly. And I also added a little bit more color with a plain green tape. And I used all of these tapes to fill in some of the empty space on the spread that was on the right and bottom sides, just to make it a little bit more interesting. For the next spread, I didn't add much to the right-hand side because it's already so busy with the clovers, and especially when they're going to be all colored in, it's going to be quite a colorful spread on its own, so it didn't really need much. But I still added that green strip of washi tape at the bottom, just to make the entire spread more cohesive. And on the left, I added some more of that same leafy green washi tape on the side, and I also added a little bit of bright green washi tape to add a little bit more color. For the calendar spread, I'm only using the white grid washi tape and the green leafy washi tape, and I'm using those to fill in all of that empty space that was on the bottom right corner. And from all of the spreads on this setup, I think this one probably benefited from the washi tape the most, just because that corner was looking a little bit empty, and if I hadn't been planning to use washi tape in the end, I probably would have filled it in with doodles completely. Next up, I'm using washi tape as a border yet again, and I'm adding it to both sides of the spread. And here I'm again using my leafy green washi tape and some more of that bright green washi. And this definitely adds a lot more color to the spread and makes it a little bit more interesting. This next spread is the one where I'm using probably the least amount of tape, and I only used a little bit of that green leafy washi tape to fill in the empty spaces on each side of the heading, and I used a little bit of bright green washi tape to underline it. For the highlights spread, I actually debated with myself whether or not I wanted to add any washi tape at all, but since the spread is so much busier on the top right corner, I decided to balance it out with a little bit of washi tape to the bottom left corner. This is actually another spread where I used washi tape as a border on both sides of the spread, just to make things a little bit more interesting. And for the last spread, I used the washi tape to underline the headings. And I'm using my usual leafy green washi tape and some dark green washi tape as well, just because I didn't want to use the light green washi tape since I wanted to create a little bit of contrast with the neon green heading. And we're back to the flip through, but this time with washi tape. I actually think that the washi tape definitely helped to make the spreads a little bit more interesting, and of course, if you've seen some of my videos, you know that I'm a huge fan of washi tape and it is actually my favorite stationery, so of course I had to add it, but again, I think that the spreads, while simpler, still looked fine without it, so if that's the look you prefer, then definitely go for that. Overall, I'm actually really pleased with how this setup came out. It's simple, but it's bright, it's green, and it definitely reminds me of spring, which is pretty much all I wanted it to do, so yay! Of course, I would love to hear what you think and if you prefer the washi tape or the no washi tape version. Again, thank you so much for watching this video. It really means a lot. I really hope that you enjoyed it, and I hope that you have an amazing month. And I'll see you in my next video. Be you, always. Bye!